When my son first told me about his wedding, my heart danced like it hadn't in years. I imagined the day I would watch him stand at the altar, see his smile, and whisper a prayer for his happiness. I even went out and bought myself a lovely silver lace dress with a little hat to match, something that would make me feel proud as his mother. But then, one evening, a message buzzed on my phone. It was from Jenna, my soon-to-be daughter-in-law. Her words were short, cold, and sharp enough to pierce straight through me. The wedding will be family only. Thanks for understanding. Family only. I remember staring at that message until my eyes blurred. How could I, his mother, not be considered family? I carried him in my belly for 9 months, nursed him when he was weak, and stayed up through the nights when he had fevers. Every scar on his knees, every dream he whispered as a boy, I was there. Yet suddenly I wasn't family enough to sit in the front row of his biggest day. On the wedding day, I stayed in my big, quiet villa. I set the dress back in its box and sat by the window, the clock ticking louder than usual. Later, I saw the pictures others posted. Oh, they had a grand celebration. Friends, distant cousins, and co-workers. All of them were there, smiling under the lights. Everyone but me. That was the moment I realized the depth of Jenna's heart. Excluding me wasn't an accident. It was deliberate. She wanted to cut me out, to erase me from the story of my own son's life. And though it broke me inside, I swallowed my tears. A grandmother learns to wear silence like armor. It was a warm afternoon when Jenna came knocking at my villa. She swept in with that practiced smile of hers, the one that never quite reached her eyes. I offered her tea, as I do with every guest, because no matter how a person treats me, I was raised to keep my manners. She sat at my dining table, stirring sugar into her cup without taking a sip, her eyes wandering around the high ceilings, the marble floors, and the carved wooden doors. I could see it in her face. She wasn't here to admire the history of this house. She was here to claim it. After a few pleasantries, she leaned forward and said, "Mother, this villa is far too big for you. You're here all alone. Daniel and I have been talking, and it makes sense for us to move in. You should downsize to a cozy condo. We'll take care of this place." Her words were dressed as kindness, but her tone carried command, not suggestion. I let her finish, watching her lips move, her eyes glint with the thought of ownership. "This villa isn't just a building. It's my life's work, my late husband's sweat and dreams, and the walls that watched my son take his first steps. Every corner of this place has memory stitched into it." And yet she sat there, demanding the keys as if she were asking me to pass the salt. I smiled politely, though inside my heart ached with the audacity. She saw me as old, fragile, and ready to be pushed aside like worn furniture. She thought she could bully me with her charm. But what Jenna didn't realize is that this house holds more than my belongings. It holds my strength. And strength is something I don't hand over on demand. Jenna leaned back in her chair, crossing her legs like a queen on her throne, and with a casual tone she said, "It's time you moved into a smaller place, something easier for you. A condo would be perfect. Daniel and I will live here, and that way the villa stays in the family." Her words echoed in the air, sharp and heavy. "Stay in the family," she said, as if I were an outsider, as if I hadn't poured every ounce of my soul into these walls. I traced the rim of my teacup slowly, letting her continue her speech, but inside my heart was pounding. Did she think I would give up the home where my husband and I built our life, just because she fancied herself the rightful queen of it? This villa was not bought with easy money. It was built brick by brick with sacrifice, patience, and prayer. My husband worked long nights. I cut corners to save every dollar, and together we turned dreams into stone. The garden outside still blooms with roses I planted when Daniel was a boy. The dining room has heard both laughter and tears, family prayers and arguments, and birthdays and farewells. And yet this young woman, who once told me my house smelled of endings, had the nerve to claim she was keeping it in the family. I wanted to ask her, what do you know of family, Jenna? Do you know what it means to hold a feverish child through the night? To sacrifice your own dreams so he can chase his, to stay when it's easier to leave. But I kept my lips sealed and simply smiled. For one thing I have learned in all my years, silence can cut deeper than any blade, especially when truth sits behind it. I let Jenna finish her speech, her eyes sparkling as though she had already moved her furniture into my parlor. Then, with the steadiness only age can give, I reached into the side drawer of my old cabinet. My fingers brushed against the familiar envelope, thick, sealed, and heavy with the weight of truth. I laid it gently on the table between us, the sound of paper against wood making her flinch. Jenna, I said softly, folding my hands over hers, this house is not as free for the taking as you imagine. Her smile faltered, but she tried to keep her composure. I slid the envelope closer. Months ago I sat with my lawyer. I made sure this villa's future was secure. It is written in black and white. This home belongs to my grandchildren. Every brick, every rose in the garden, and every memory within these walls will one day be theirs, not yours. Her face drained of color. The spoon she had been fidgeting with clattered against her teacup. She opened her mouth, but no words came out, only the faint sound of her breath catching in her throat. I leaned back in my chair, feeling the strength of generations behind me. You see, dear, I am not as helpless as you think. I know the value of what I have, and I know who deserves it after me, my grandchildren. They are my blood, my legacy. This villa will keep them safe long after I am gone. For a moment, the only sound in the room was the ticking of the clock on wall. Then quietly I added, family treasures are not claimed by demand, Jenna. They are protected with love and foresight, and with that, her kingdom of schemes crumbled in silence. Jenna sat frozen, her painted smile slipping away like a mask that no longer fit. She had come into my home thinking she could bend me, twist me, and rewrite the meaning of family to fit her own convenience. But I have lived long enough to know that family is not a costume you put on for the photographs and take off when it grows uncomfortable. I leaned forward, resting my wrinkled hands on the polished table, and looked her straight in the eye. Jenna, I said quietly but firmly, family isn't something you can define when it suits you. You told me my son's wedding was family only, yet you pushed me aside. And now you stand in my home, demanding keys to a life you never built, all under the excuse of keeping it in the family. Her lip trembled, but she stayed silent. I continued, my voice steady, like a mother scolding a child. Family is carried in sleepless nights, in sacrifices no one else sees, in prayers whispered over a crib. It is not about who sits at the head of the table, but about who sets the table with love. It is not about claiming what is mine, but about cherishing what was given. I paused, letting the words sink in, and then added, you cannot erase me when it benefits you and suddenly remember me when there is wealth to inherit. That is not family. That is greed dressed in borrowed clothes. Her eyes darted toward the door as if she couldn't bear the weight of my words. But I didn't raise my voice, nor did I scold. I simply told her the truth, the kind that lingers like an echo long after the room falls silent. For truth, my dear, is the oldest language a grandmother knows.